Nozuko.
Hi, Kanya.
How are you?
I'm good. Besides this cold, how are you?
Listen, it's crazy. It's been a crazy few days. I'm good. Otherwise, I'm good.
That's good.
Thank
I'm
you so
glad.
much. Thank you for joining our community. Thank you for coming on. I think we have a mixture of people that join this community. We have people that are very new in their careers and they're trying to make decisions. We have people that are looking to be promoted. We have people that are at crossroads, right, in terms of their careers. And I think bringing on people like yourself to just share your own journey, to just share some of the challenges that you may have experienced along the way, really, really does help. So we really do appreciate it. Thank you. No?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
I'm
no.
looking forward to the conversation.
Yay. So let me get right into it. And I think, a lot of the time, we celebrate people like yourself almost at the pinnacle, right? Of your journey. And we actually don't take the time to truly appreciate and understand what it's taken to get to where you are. So maybe just as a start, you can share that with us, please.
Sure. So I guess all good stories have to start somewhere, right, Kanya?
Yeah.
So let's take it all the way to the beginning. Well, I grew up in Katlehong in the East Rand, raised by the love, hope, and sacrifices of a strong lineage of women, from my grandmother to my single parent mother and her younger sister, who pretty much raised me. And
Oh,
of course, surrounded by an army of cousins who are more like my siblings, really.
oh,
And from an early age, I can remember my grandmother always making sure I read anything we could get our hands on. And so my interest in subjects like economics and the world started early. And
okay.
back then, like most households, there was only one TV in the house, right?
Yeah.
And my grandparents controlled the remotes. So
Yeah.
they watched every news bulletin in every language. And whether I wanted to or not, I was exposed to current affairs,
Yeah.
business, and world news from a young age.
Yeah.
So naturally, when I went to high school, commerce classes were the ones I was interested in. To my
Okay.
mom's disappointment, though, because she really wanted me to be an engineer, but
Oh.
science and maths weren't really my friends.
Yeah. So,
But we got over that bridge, and when the time came, I went on to study a BCom in economics and econometrics at the
yeah.
University of Johannesburg. And I thought I was going to be an economist, maybe even work in banking.
Yeah.
But that changed as I got older, and the world as I knew it got bigger.
Mm.
And naturally, university came with a lot of financial struggles.
Yeah.
Many South Africans know all too
Yeah.
well. I only had 3 years to finish,
Sure.
zero margin for error. And
Sure.
so I did just that.
Nice.
But when I wanted to continue with honors, finances again said otherwise. So I had to enter the job market.
Okay.
I was very fortunate. I got the great opportunity to join a graduate program, which I believe in. And I think a lot of companies believe in too, and they should keep endorsing. And
Yeah.
mine was at Mass Marts.
Nice.
So I literally went from grassroots level and I navigated corporate with nothing but starry-eyed ideals,
Mm.
which reality quickly adjusted. But I always kept my strong will to learn.
Yeah. Lovely.
I started then in what was supply development, where I worked with small businesses who had very little to no access to capital systems.
Mm.
And regardless of how small they started out, we believed in their dreams. We helped them scale, and some of them ended up supplying Massmart's big retail formats.
Mm.
And that was my first clear integration into the world of hard work.
Sure.
And I never saw any job as beneath me. I worked on shop floors
Yeah.
and I ran some pretty cool projects,
Yeah.
whatever and wherever I was needed. I embraced the challenge.
Nice.
And then eventually you want new, you've done this for a while.
Yeah.
So I decided to join the world's largest brewer, AB InBev, and
Mm.
that's where I discovered the world of procurement.
Yeah.
So there, different learning curve. I stumbled a lot,
Yeah.
but I failed fast and I learned even faster.
Yeah.
I got to work with some pretty awesome teams that I got to lead as well. I made my impact and eventually found my way into the automotive industry, where I
Yeah.
now lead procurement risk and sustainability at
Hey
Motors
now.
Retail.
Hey now.
So my journey has been anything but linear, right? So
Yeah,
people see the LinkedIn profile, the titles, the recognition, but
yeah,
what they don't see was the behind the scenes of tears,
yeah,
late nights, starting over, and the grit that was required to just keep going. And
yeah,
that's what I carry with me.
yeah,
Reminders of what it took to get here, so I never forget how far I've come.
yeah.
The belief in me from others, that's what carried me when I wasn't always sure about my own. And
Mm,
the power of invisible effort and the idea that real impact is built over time,
mm,
step by step, no matter how small.
yeah.
So that's how I would categorize my
Oh,
story of how my
oh,
journey
wow.
began to
What
where
a
I am now.
fascinating story, hey? Because actually, you
Yes.
didn't start out wanting to be where you are today, right? And
No,
so it's just
no,
having that open mind and continually learning and opening up yourself to learning new things and different paths, I guess. You know?
absolutely. That's
Mm,
the beauty of it. You can literally reinvent yourself at every turn.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be a straight line.
Yeah. So I love the fact that you mentioned you kept moving, but also you felt very fast. So I want to talk to that, some of the falling. What were some of the um or I don't know what is the English word, what falling or what challenges or whatever you want to call it, that you maybe want to share with us, and what did you learn out of those?
Okay. So there's so many, right? There's no one place to begin,
Yeah,
but two that come to mind that I think are worth highlighting that I found are reoccurring themes that
yeah,
just come in different levels as you progress.
yeah,
The first one is thinking you know everything, being so excited that you're eager to just get going, get stuck in, and you
yeah,
don't take time to pause. You don't take time to immerse yourself, to learn, to understand, to listen,
yeah,
and listen to understand and not to change, right? Because we come in with this arsenal of tools, experiences. I've done all these cool things. I can do it over and over at all the places I go to,
yeah,
and it doesn't really work like that. So being humble enough to slow down
yeah,
and actually really give yourself the time to immerse yourself in what you need to look at.
yeah,
So the first one that comes up quite often is also being in spaces that are resistant to change,
yeah,
because the tried and tested has always worked, and
yeah,
trying something new
yeah,
seems like a seemingly bigger mountain to climb,
yeah,
where change is what's needed but not welcomed.
yeah,
And then secondly, when I bring the conversation more inward, plenty of self-doubt and just being in my own way.
yeah,
I have battled with imposter syndrome, stepping into leadership roles.
yeah,
I've been on the verge of burnout so many times and had to unlearn perfectionism because it really is the enemy of good.
yeah,
So I've learned, sometimes the hard way, that rest is productive,
yeah,
that boundaries are self-respect, and that asking for help is strength.
yeah,
So what got me through? Getting out of my way, leaning into the willingness to try, looking for ways that I can instead of justifying why I can't,
yeah,
cultivating deep, meaningful relationships, and intentionally seeking out mentorship. Because
mm,
these challenges don't disappear, right?
mm,
But you learn to manage them a bit better with time, with a lot of trial and error. So
yeah,
that's what I lean into,
yeah,
the support of others and just getting out of my own way.
sure. That's incredible, eh? That's really, really, really
Not easy. No 2 days
not,
are the
no,
same.
listen,
So,
listen, never, never, ever easy. And I think, you mentioned imposter syndrome, and I think it's such a common thing, especially for women in corporate,
yes.
you know.
Yeah.
But you
So be
also,
careful of the voices in your mind, right? What language do you use when you talk to yourself?
yeah,
I think it starts there
yeah,
before you even let anybody else make any decisions about you. It's what you tell yourself.
yeah, very true. So you mentioned something about mentorship playing a key role in your growth. I think, having sat with a couple of amazing people over the last couple of months, I've always picked all of them, their brain around and their belief around mentorship, around allyship. And I'm curious to hear what your views are on that. So your view on mentorship and allyship, please.
So both essential. I'm a big believer that they're major accelerants for growth. On
Why?
one side, you have allyship, which is largely about using your voice and access to create spaces for others.
Yeah,
And on the other side, you have mentorship, which is more about walking alongside someone and not necessarily ahead of them.
yeah,
So, what greater tools to help you along to have both elements in people and not just one? And I mean, I've often been one of the few women in the room,
yeah,
even fewer of color, and
yeah,
sometimes even the youngest. And
yeah.
what made the difference for me? Allies who not only opened the door, but they held them open and they walked through with me. And
Oh,
I've been surrounded by so many people
oh,
on this journey who have done this for me. And what a privilege it's been.
yeah,
And on the mentorship element, they've helped shape my career. And it did not always need to be a formal arrangement. You'd
yeah,
be surprised how many people, sometimes without titles, are so giving of themselves and time when
yeah,
you just ask.
yeah.
Like my first boss, who
Mm,
didn't just give me tasks to do, he gave me ownership, no matter how small the space or even contribution at the time.
yeah,
And when I messed up, he held me accountable, but
yeah,
he also taught me and he supported me. And that's how I approach mentorship now. So, more simply put, great mentors tend to ask better questions,
yeah.
whilst great allies will help you be heard. So, a big supporter,
Mm,
and I do it with my team. I do it with anyone who listen to me speak. I
yeah,
believe in paying it forward.
yeah,
Pay it forward.
yeah. Oh, love that. Love that. Thank you, Nozuko. So I think, a lot of people are always wondering, how do I become a risk? I mean, you shared your own journey and your own story, which was nowhere near being linear. But somebody out there is aspiring to become an Ozugo one day. What advice would you give that person? How do you become a risk and sustainable exec?
Yeah. So you start where you are.
Okay.
And it's to understand, is that an element you want to step into? And
Yeah.
I've been fortunate, Kanya, that my roles have largely not been elements I thought I'd end up in. I found myself there just from the sheer tenacity of wanting to learn, wanting to understand business, and wanting to be part of making the strategic decisions and influencing the direction we go. So risk and largely procurement, which are very much related, and procurement to a degree
Yeah.
are elements that are helping sort of future proof the business to
Okay.
have to be sustainable 100 years from now. So
Yeah.
it's what decisions do we make today, and what lenses do we look at around what's happening in our ecosystem.
Yeah.
There's so much volatility, there's so much change. So even I imagine the coursework around risk is not the same as it was 5 years ago, because it's
Yeah.
just an evolving element
Yeah.
on trying to understand the world as it is today.
Yeah.
So I would say do your research, speak to people,
Okay.
associate yourself with those in the path you want to walk in, and
Yeah.
to really understand what it takes to be in that space and what the requirements are.
Yeah.
So it's not just about studying anymore. Studying is very important.
Yeah.
You should, and you
Yeah.
should read, right? Read, connect, reach out, try to understand if it's something you want to align yourself with and if it makes sense for your career path.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd say you should do if you want to get into that space and
Mm,
grow from where you are.
mm,
You don't step up and become an executive overnight. And
mm,
that should not necessarily be your ambition for right now. Your ambition would be, how do I drive sustainable value? How
mm,
do I carve out my space in the rooms that I'm in?
mm,
And where do I contribute?
mm,
And then the rest will fall into place.
mm. So you speak so passionately about what you do. Okay.
It
What do you
drives me
find
from
most?
Soulsby.
I see that. And what do you find most fulfilling about what you do?
Oh, being able to make a meaningful impact, right? It's you can see, you can touch it, and sometimes it's not necessarily just from the value that you drive for the company in terms of profits, but everything else that sustains the ecosystem, the people that we serve, the products we put out into the markets, and how do we look after our societies that we exist in as responsible corporate citizens. So from the perspective of what I do for a living, it's seeking purposeful procurement, whether we aid meaningfully, mutually beneficial supplier partnerships, supporting joint growth, That's sort of what fulfills me, seeing that come to life
Mm.
and positioning the work that we do in sustainability, that it's not just about profit, but
Yeah.
about creating platforms for people and the planet that sustains us and
Yeah.
that we need to preserve in order for it to thrive. So
Mm.
aligning that business value and societal value, that's deeply fulfilling for me.
Mm. Lovely, lovely. Tell you know when I sit with people like yourself, time just ticks by so quickly. I've like looked at the time like,
It's
oh,
crazy.
it's 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes. Shock and horror, you know?
It's
But no,
okay, we keep
so
going.
I tell you, so, in every career, right, there are always misconceptions. So I'll tell you, for somebody like myself who's in human capital, the biggest misconception is that I spend all day hiring and firing people. And actually, that's a very small part of what I actually do in my day to day, Very curious. And actually, what I do most of my time is spend my time with leaders, and we speak about how do we run a profitable but also sustainable business, to your point. And my business is people. So we pull on all the people levers and we look at a person throughout the whole value chain in a business. So very curious, just in terms of what you do in your role, what are some of the misconceptions?
So there's a running joke in the procurement fraternity where we tend to like putting up pictures when we try to explain what we do. So we always end up having like a person who's on fire,
Yeah,
signing a contract and
yeah,
juggling something that's actually what I do. And if
yeah.
you ask my boss what I do, I just spend money. Like I've got this money gun. I'm shooting money in the air. So that's largely the misconception about what we do in risk, what we
Yeah,
do in sustainability and
yeah.
procurement. So some of the misconceptions are that it's a compliance exercise, it's a cost center, it's PR. So everything that's a nice to have,
Mm.
really, but people don't think it's at the heart of what we need to do. And in truth, all these elements about, like I said earlier, future proofing the business. So
Yeah,
risk isn't just about avoiding problems.
yeah,
It's about spotting opportunities
yeah,
within these problems with eyes wide open, right? You
yeah,
can't know and solve for everything, but you can assess the potential impact of what may come with some thought to carve out mitigating factors.
yeah,
That's on the risk side largely.
yeah.
And then on sustainability, we love trees. We don't necessarily have to hug
Yeah.
trees, but it's not just about going green.
Yes.
It isn't just a department, it's a mindset.
Yeah,
It's entrenched in ethics, human
yeah,
rights,
yeah,
inclusion,
yeah.
good governance, which are core to business resilience. So doing good and doing well should not be viewed as mutually exclusive, really. You
Yeah.
don't need to choose between making money or making a positive difference in society or even the world.
Yeah.
So reflecting on this matters because it challenges outdated business beliefs and aligns purpose and profit.
Hmm. Very interesting. You say you don't just spend money all day.
No, and I don't have trees all day,
And
and I
and
don't put out fires.
and neither are you a magician either, right?
I would love to be. I'd really love to be, but
Yeah.
sadly not.
Not, yeah. Sure. So I think, I've gone through some of what you do and how you've done it. And I think, the common thread that pulls through a lot of what you do and a lot of what you say is that, you have a strong belief in the power of collaboration, and your curiosity, and you continuously are always, challenging yourself to learn. Why? Why do you live by this philosophy?
So the three C's of life, collaboration, curiosity, and continuous learning. So those are the three things that influence my compass because I really believe no one person on their own really builds anything meaningful. So collaboration brings diversity of thought, it inspires innovation,
Mm,
curiosity keeps us open, and learning keeps us relevant.
mm,
So they help me lead with courage and compassion too.
mm,
That's why I find them such great traits and characteristics to have as a leader, as a person in general.
mm,
And if you think about the world we live in today, it's
mm,
not always the strongest or even the fastest or even the smartest who thrive. It's those who adapt, who
mm,
innovate others, and who keep growing. So I'm a lover of quotes, right? And I keep an entire library of them. And
Yeah.
if you give me half the chance, I'll share them with you.
Yeah, please
But
do.
for this particular conversation and
Yeah.
around the concept of collaboration, one of the ones that I find most fitting and one of my favorite proverbs is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And this echoes true because every breakthrough I've been a part of has been from a collective.
Yeah.
And that's why I lead the way that I do, with openness, with purpose, with others. Always, always, always.
Ah, you are such a breath of fresh air, Nozuko. Thank you so much. We appreciate you
Thank
so much.
you.
Keep shining and keep going. No, thank you.
I appreciate the time and I appreciate you speaking to me. I'm happy to share. You know how nervous I was about this conversation, so thank you for encouraging me to do
It's
it.
just me. It's just
And
me.
I know, and like you said, you don't just hire, you work with people.
That's right.
So I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Nozuko. Have a lovely day. Cheers.
Thanks, Kanya. Bye bye.
Alrighty, bye.